Okay,
You just work with Barbara.
All right.
you and I.
Let me go ahead and start.
Okay. You're gonna say anything you want,
Okay,
and in between each section, if you have sections, we'll just pause for a second and then start the next.
and then you can edit it what is
Yes,
not good.
exactly.
Good.
Okay. You don't have to say your name, you don't have to do anything.
Okay.
Just start talking.
I was asked to come here to speak about the play that my children saw in the room. I was told by Barbara Feldman that it was something we were doing because the children could not go to the playhouse. I immediately was happy. I decided to use it to each class from pre-K to 5th grade. I first looked at the standards and I said, okay, first of all, I'm going to follow the standards, make sure that the children are ready for what they're going to see. So after I discussed the standards with them the first week, because I only see them once a week, they were excited. I told them we're going to have popcorn, and when the popcorn was popping in the bag, they were looking, then they couldn't keep their eyes off the screen. So they were listening to the popcorn, and they were looking at the movie, and they were so excited. After the movie, I had several worksheets that were given to me where the children could color. So I wanted them to follow certain standards, and the first thing that I wanted them to understand was we're going to make our character look exactly like it was in the movie. So I would find the character that they were working on at certain tables. And they could look at each other's papers, and that's what they liked, because usually we can't look at our neighbor's papers because that's cheating. But this wasn't cheating. They could see what color their characters were wearing, and if they didn't see it, then they say, can you show me so-and-so? And then I'd put it up, and everybody that's working on that character would do it. After they colored them, they were so excited. I've got a little home laminator, and it's something about them standing there waiting for their paper to come through the laminator, and they look at it and say, wow, look at what I did. Then I took them, and we have windows in the hallway, and I put them on the windows. And I started according to grade. Whenever I put anything out there, I start with pre-K, and then I go up to 5th so that you can see how they advance from each grade to the next grade. And as the children walk by, there's mine, there's yours. I remember yours because you sat next to me. They were so excited. And from the beginning of that section, of that time that we did that play, it was always exciting. I think each class had 3 weeks where they worked on that. They worked on the standards first and how to act when they were at a play, and how to dress their best like they were really going somewhere and they were just coming to school, and how to act when they were there and they didn't talk, they didn't bother anybody. Some of them laid down on the floor and acted like they were really at home watching TV. Some of them sat up, and the laughs that they gave, and I told them they could laugh, they could enjoy themselves as long as they were embellishing what was going on and not being immature. And that was so important to them to hear those standards before we even started. But for standards for them, it's just a conversation with Miss Robertson. And Miss Robertson is telling them her expectations. And then when it came on, it was like, wow, they were excited. And then after that, when they got a chance to do the pictures, that was the end. And that was the combination to the event that we had done for the last 2 weeks. And each class enjoyed it in their own way.
Oh, that was wonderful. That was great.
That was what you were looking for?
That was exactly what I
Okay,
was looking for.
all righty.
Is there anything else?
I think that the main thing I want to share is the fact that some children don't even have television at home. So for them to watch something on a smart Promethean board where it's large and it's in the room, and they can see things in color that they're not able to experience at home, And some of these children are homeless. And when they get a chance to come in, eat butter popcorn and an icy, and watch a movie in TV that they understand, hey, this is a play. Somebody took their time to make this to make us happy. That's what makes my heart prick. Just to know that they're enjoying something that they're not able to enjoy at home. Some children don't get a chance to go to the movie maybe once or twice a year. And so it's something that happened at school. And guess what? It happened in Miss Robertson's class. And that's what makes it important to me, because they'll always remember certain things. The Emperor's New Clothes, they'll go to the media and say, look what I found, look what I found. It's what we saw. Yes, sweetheart, it's what we saw. Say it brings it into real time for them. And that's what I enjoy for them, just making them happy and seeing that smile on their face and them running in and giving me a hug and saying, what are we going to do today? That's what I live for.
Oh, that was flawless. Perfect. That's
Okay.
exactly what I needed.
Okay.
That was just wonderful. And this is the way she always talks to me on the phone. So when we talk about it, I know this is really who Patricia is. I mean, we've never met.
Today's the first time.
Yes.
Oh, and guess what?
What?
They were so disappointed because remember, you said that maybe you all could be able to come. And to them, because they saw you, you were like a movie. She's coming here. And I said, yes, she might visit. So if you had come in that time, they would have thought that you were a movie star, even though they knew that you were one of the voices. It didn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like so close to them. And then I told them you weren't coming. They were a little disappointed,
Well,
but it's okay.
It was COVID and stuff.
Yeah, it was. They understand. They understand what they went through during COVID. But during that time, they were so excited about doing something different. And it's always something with a child to experience something that they wouldn't dream that they would be able to experience. It's like, hey, me? I'm going to be able to do this. And then when the brothers or sisters, my brother told me about this. Well, let's see if your brother gave you all the information. Now, shh, don't spoil it for the other children because they have brothers and sisters in the school. And so that's one thing that they look forward to share something at home that they've learned from their brothers and sisters. And that's important to me.
I don't think you should ever retire.
Well, when the coroner comes, hey, when he rings that bell outside that school, then we know, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's not going to be for a long, long time. We're going to both just keep plugging along.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That
That's
was
it. That
wonderful.
was
Watch your
it.
head. And
Yeah.
your face is fuller.
I've been eating a lot.
Good. Good.
Oh.
All right, we're rolling.
Okay.
Hello.
I'm not going to talk.
Oh, you just want me
We're
to
just
talk?
going to start.
Yeah,
Don't worry
okay.
about hello or anything.
Um,
Don't worry about any of that.
So I'm Michael Silvio Fortino.
You don't
No,
have
I
to
don't even
say
have to do that? Okay. So I first started off with Storyland. We got to start at the beginning. I was 5 years old. I remember my first production of Storyland that I saw was Hansel and Gretel. And I'll never forget it. I remember Barbara. I remember you. Do I refer to Barbara or do we say you?
You can refer to Barbara.
Okay.
But not like she's here.
Yeah. So Barbara. I just
Yeah.
need to say Barbara. Okay. I remember Barbara.
Do this.
Oh, sorry.
Actually
Yeah,
start
yeah,
over.
yeah.
Yeah.
So my first experiences with Storyland Theater started off when I was 5 years old. I remember vividly going to see Hansel and Gretel. I remember Barbara coming out, giving the pre-show speech, and just remember the Maxwell Theater going completely dark and the lights coming up and just seeing the stage and everything and the giant oven, and it was just magical. It was the first time that I'd ever seen a live performance like that. And I think Doug Joyner was in that version too, if I'm not mistaken, who Doug would go on to be my professor for many years at AU. But it was my first experience with theater, and I knew then that this was something that I would be interested in doing. and so I performed, and I met Barbara in 2001 doing Fiddler on the Roof with her husband Jack. And I remember that day I met Jack, and I told my mom I had made a new friend. I said, Mom, I made a new friend. And I brought Jack over to my mom, and Jack is a grown man, and I'm just a little 8-year-old boy. I'm like, this is my new friend, Jack. And my mom's like, oh, nice to meet you. And from there, my mom and Barbara and Jack knew each other. And I remember when I graduated high school, I wanted to do Storyland. And you were like, not yet. You got to wait until you're done with school and in college. And so the next year I went and auditioned. I was 18, and that's when I did my first show, which was Bilbo and the Magic Ring, which is my favorite show, actually. That's probably my favorite. It's a lot of fun to do. Bilbo and the Magic Ring, and then on to Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella, and a lot of shows that I'm probably forgetting right now, but we did a ton of shows. And then I went away to work for Disney, and when I came back, I needed something to do as far as not only performing. I wanted to learn both sides of the stage, and so I asked Barbara for an internship, and she gave me one as soon as I got back from Disney. And I worked and performed and learned everything about what goes into Storyland, not only as far as directing, on-stage stuff, but as far as planning and the seating arrangements for all the kids, which is a lot. That was a lot, I remember. And I remember coordinating with Harriet and trying to get everybody seated and running between shows. I think there was one show that I did that I didn't come in until like halfway through the show. So I would put on all my blacks and I would go help seat. I'd put on all my blacks. I would go help seat kids. And then I'd run backstage, put on my costume, and do the show. Because I remember that was a year we were really light on people helping seat. So I was really glad to be able to help out with that. And then, it's just been a magical experience. I mean, the many years working with Storyland, and they've given so much to me. And I wouldn't be where I am right now without Storyland. So I owe a lot to you guys. Trying to think of... Yeah, I did it.
Take a second,
Yeah. And even through the pandemic, I mean, we had to make adjustments, and especially now that things are more digital, and Storyland's making that adjustment they need to make, and that's why it's been going on for so long, and it's inspired so many kids, and including this one. So I'm forever grateful to Storyland. I hope I'm not missing anything.
Mention Humphrey Clinker, because you worked in it.
Yeah.
We can add it on.
Yeah. I remember when we did Humphrey Clinker, and we didn't know what was going to happen. The pandemic had just started, and we all come into the studio, and we just start recording and singing and learning, and it was such a magical experience to see a group of artists come together and be like, the kids aren't getting the same art that was the mission behind Storyland in the first place, was to get art to kids, and now we're in a position where we can't right now. So I think Humphrey Clinker was just a real magical experience, especially during that time specifically, just because there was no arts for the kids going on. And I think that Humphrey Clinker was a really cool project to be a part of, and I'm very appreciative of that.
That was good. Okay. Do you want to talk about any of the people you met, what you thought about the kids?
Yeah.
You used to love to go out in the audience.
Oh,
with
yeah.
kids. Well, that's a cute thing.
Yeah. Kids are your most honest audience. I think I learned that. They'll tell you exactly what they're thinking by yawning or by clapping or cheering or booing. But my favorite part about the kids was interacting with them after the show and talking to them. Barbara used to tell us that some kids think this is a movie. They don't really quite understand that this is a play. And I was like, that doesn't seem right. And then you go out there and they're like, whoa, you're a real person. And they feel, and they like see you and they're like, wow. And like they really do think it's a movie until they really see us and like see us waving at them. And but they're sweet kids. They're always so nice. And I've met kids that saw me perform at Storyland that are performing at other places, and they're like, I remember seeing you perform, and it's like, wow, I used to say that too. And so now it's like a full circle. But they're sweet kids. And just to talk about the people that I've worked with, I mean, everybody from technical, you know, with Barbara directing, and Tiffany and Nancy Sizik and Harriet that was leading the seating, and of course Jim Nord and Cindy, and I'm sure I'm missing a lot of people, but all the friends I've made through this group it's just priceless. I just love everybody that I've worked with, and I'm very grateful to have been a part of it.
That was wonderful. Anything else you want to add? I
Uh,
think you did great. I just don't know if there's something you forgot. I love that you talked about coming as a child. That was really important.
Yeah.
And why don't you
What are you
quickly?
doing now?
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Why don't
Oh.
you quickly say what you are now doing?
Okay.
What this has led to?
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of keep it in the realm of the documentary, say something about how Storyland got you there.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, Storyland was my first piece of not only seeing live theater, but performing after high school. Because I remember after high school, I was very confused on like what I was going to do, where I was going to perform. I remember I was not booking work anywhere else, even locally speaking. And Barbara gave me my chance to kind of get back up there and start getting these like reps. And let me start over. Sorry. It's
can
true
start
though.
over.
Yeah.
You can start off,
Um,
but don't forget to mention where you are now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting to
Okay,
it.
no, this is good.
So Storyland, as I mentioned before, not only gave me my first piece of like live theater, but it also gave me some direction, especially after some confusing times in my life. After high school, I wasn't really booking work or performing anywhere, and Storyland really helped me get those reps in and work really hard to be a better performer. And not only that, when I came back from working at Disney, I had mentioned the internship. That internship projected me to where I am now, just because it instilled a work ethic in me that I knew I needed to have in order to make it. And that's why right now I just finished a movie back in August that comes out August 2023. And I also have my SAG card. I've been on Netflix. I've done a lot of cool things. And it definitely would not have been possible without Storyland Theater helping me out. So, yeah.
Okay, Rob, that was gonna make me cry. Oh, I didn't know you were still here. I thought you were out here. You just sneak back and forth. I know you're here. Isn't he adorable?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
truth be told.
On the documentary, there are gonna be all kinds of scenes you were in. I mean, I have things from Bilbo, I have scenes with Richard and Jamie and Chris Porter and Peggy and all the people, Matt, I mean,
Okay.
It's also important that I acknowledge Jamie Burcham, the late, wonderful Jamie Burcham. When I was at Southside, I wrote a Georgia Arts Challenge grant, and I was fortunate to win that grant 7 years in a row. And I always took that money to hire someone to come into my school to teach the arts. Well, I had Jamie as a little boy when he was in kindergarten and first, and then I was his assistant principal when he was in 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. And so when it came time to hire somebody, I thought, I wonder what Jamie Burcham, I knew he was with the ballet, and I knew I would see him show up in other theater. Well, then I found out he was with Storyland Theater. He had done shows with Storyland. So I said, Jamie, I would like to hire you to work at my school. Just 1 hour. You'll be working with 5th grade teaching drama. He said, I'll be glad to do it. I'd love to do it. So we did all the paperwork, and I was fortunate enough to have Jamie. But that goes back again to attendance. Nobody was in 5th grade. That's the hard to get them to school in 5th grade. The little ones like to come. 5th grade, they think they're grown, but not if it was Mr. Burcham's day to be in our school. And he taught those children so many things that made them at 5th grade still definitely want to go to Storyland because they wanted to see what Jamie had taught them to put into practice. And I just think that's worth mentioning, that somebody that was little that went to Storyland also, then happened to be my student, able to hire him, and he got those kids back. He went with the children when they went to Storyland. So that was an exciting time.
I love it.
Good?
Yes,
That's it, and that's true. I meant to get that in there somewhere.
that's all.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Okay, so tell me about your years with Storyland when you were acting in college.
I had so much fun in college being a part of Storyland Theater plays. I was Gretel in Hansel and Gretel and Symphony Sonatina in The Hobbit one time, and it was so much fun. I had fun interacting with my friends that were in college with me, and got to meet other new people as well. And the practices were fun. The performances were incredible, getting to interact with the audience and meeting the boys and girls that came, and it was a lot of fun. I've always loved music and theater and just the atmosphere of getting to interact with the audience and the audience interacting with us.
very nice.
That starts good.
That's okay, you're talking about your
Okay.
kids.
Right, my own people. After getting married and having children of my own, it was always exciting to take my kids to the plays as they rolled around in each one, and I was able to share with my kids that I was in the plays, and they enjoyed them, and they love music and theater as well.
Okay, now you're gonna talk about school.
Yes. Right. Now, I am an elementary music teacher and have been for many, many years, and it has been a lot of fun. With COVID, took away a lot of things, but we were able to go on a virtual field trip last year when Storyland did their virtual plays, and I was able to share that with my boys and girls, and it was so exciting to be able to go on a field trip and not even leave my classroom. But the boys and girls loved it so much, and they drew pictures and colored pictures of their favorite character, and I got some interviews of all, excuse me, sorry.
Just pick it up, and I got some interviews.
I got some videos that I sent to Barbara of my boys and girls giggling and enjoying the plays as well.
Very nice.
Good, good.
Sorry for the
No,
flubs.
it's okay, because he'll just piece it together.
Okay.
He had to do that for me too,
Okay.
all right?
So,
That's
is that,
everything.
yes, I did.
Perfect name.
Okay.
Do you need,
Any other thoughts?
Okay.
No pressure. You're good. Good?
If,
yeah,
if there's something else that you want me to add, I can.
I think you touched on everything.
Okay.
You did not mention, and I don't know that you have to, that did you use the standards or the discussion questions or the coloring pages?
I did use the coloring pages. I did, I
Okay,
included
stop.
the,
Stop for a second.
Just pick it up with, I did use.
Okay.
okay. I did use the coloring pages that were included in the lesson plans, and I put the lesson plans to use the standards. It was very easy to use. Everything was there for me. I just copied and pasted it into my existing plans.
Excellent. That's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. That's what I
Awesome.
needed.
All right.
Thank you, Amy.
Well, thank
I am takes things back. I can ask her the question before you start, you know.
No, it's, let me do this.
Pleasure to be part of such a really well-run organization. I mean, from the business end to the artistic end, it'll be almost impossible to replicate in Augusta, Georgia. I'm an actor, Barbara.
No, I know. But I know you meant it.
I did
Russ.
mean it,
I
of
know
course,
you did.
of course.
It sort of says we're ending, but it doesn't say we're ending.
I
right?
had to catch myself, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it doesn't matter, because by the time we get there, the people who are coming are gonna basically know.
I think we're gonna have to tell them that we're not,
Yeah,
that we're going to be continuing to put stuff up on our video,
Mhm.
but, that we are not going to be performing anymore.
Yeah, you're still going to have a life. It's just going to be
Different.
very different.
Mhm, mhm.
Basically, you're going to, you're gonna spend whatever time is left just kind of showing the history of Storyland.
right, right.
And you're gonna show old videos and old photos and old
Mhm.
programs and stuff like that. So you're not disappearing.
Right.
So, yeah, I think any comments like that are fine.
Okay.
That's my opinion. It's your gig, but
Hmm?
No, I loved it.
Okay.
That was really, really good, because Beth gave the feeling, I mean, she just got all teary that she missed it so much, and she missed
Oh.
being on stage.
Oh, she's already done it.
Yeah, she did it yesterday.
Gotcha.
Michael is coming at 11,
Gotcha.
so I don't know if you may or may not run into him if he gets here early, but
Right.
Michael is coming.
Good. Yeah, I heard about his father.
we're done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are done, yes,
Weighs the conformity,
yeah.
so.
She was so good, Robbie, you didn't even hear, she didn't stop for 1 minute. She didn't take a breath.
Ask my husband, do you ever take a breath?
We're done.
So anytime.
Now?
Mhm.
Okay. One thing I did with Storyland that I was quite proud of, and even prouder of Storyland, is I got to assign the scholarships to students of mine, and mostly worthy students, I hope, and not only to help them financially with their education, but also to give them a taste of professional theater, essentially, where they are performing. And it's also, performing for children will quickly tell the performer if they're interesting or not, because children will not lie. They cannot lie with their bodies or their voices or their shifting in the seats. If they're shifting in the seats, you've bored them tremendously. So helping them financially and honing their acting skills was a great privilege that was given to me to allot on behalf of Storyland. That's one.
That was great.
Okay. What do you want me to talk about next?
Talk about you being in shows, if you want,
Mm.
or how you felt, or, I don't know. Something about you.
I hate talking about me.
You can talk about when Rick told you to come, and he lied to you. I love that. That's a great story.
My first experience with Storyland is Rick Davis. He said, "Doug, you should come act for Storyland." I'm like, "Sure, I like acting. We can do that." I said, "But I do not act, I do not sing, and I do not dance." He's like, "No problem." I go to my first rehearsal, and it was a singing rehearsal for music. And I looked at him, and he just smiled, shrugged his shoulders, and I've been part of them ever since. So it started with a lie, which is fitting for theater because it's a lie. So, hey, Rick Davis, yeah.
Okay.
What else?
Oh, that was beautiful.
That's a great story. Okay, you were talking about the effect, was it how Storyland affected the kids?
Mm-hmm.
What did,
Oh. I really liked acting for Storyland not only to hone skills, but really shaping young lives. Because Bettelheim, in his book, The Uses of Enchantment, he talks about fairy tales don't necessarily tell us about the external world. In essence, their importance lies in the fact that we're changing what happens on the inside of the individual, that conflict that these young kids are going through. And it gives them something to identify with, and it helps them grow and hopefully become part of humanity.
Okay.
There was
what
one
else?
more. What else?
Yeah, boy, that's some strong stuff.
Doug is really, really smart. You started with us.
I mean, that's like deep stuff for a documentary.
Yeah.
Man.
What else? There was something else. Several stories that crack me up. It deals with me and Chris Bailey in that first Bilbo fight that you saw us do, and you were terrified. Do you remember that? Let's see, what else? I looked back at you out of my periphery, and you were just like, you were, I didn't know, I thought you were going to kill me. But we toned it back. There's another story. What is it?
Well, fix that one so you can say that one. The idea of the fighting, because you did so much fight choreography and you made it look so real. But it never went over the line to scare the kids.
It didn't. It didn't.
So, say that story again.
But that one, this isn't for kids, so I can. I'm trying to think of another one. My other favorite story deals with.
But I like that one.
I like the one where my favorite. Oh, one of my favorite moments was not. It was in the audience. I was watching. You weren't playing it, and which you were my favorite witch in Hansel and Gretel. Especially you with that Home Depot thing. Your laugh and move.
Hansel and
Fantastic. Yeah. But I was an audience member, and I forget who was playing the witch. Sitting in the back, and as soon as the witch entered, there was a young boy sitting on his father's lap about 3 rows ahead of me. When the witch came out, he couldn't have been more than 5. He leapt off his father's lap, ran toward the lobby screaming, "It's a disaster. It's a disaster." And I thought to myself, how many times have I wanted to do that in the theater, watching? But then I thought, I even took it a step further, and he was so concerned because to him, something profane had entered the sacred space of those 2 children, of Hansel and Gretel. So I like this story.
We had a good time when we did Hansel and Gretel.
We did. And
What about Bilbo's stories?
I don't know any Bilbo stories. Are we rolling still? Did you get that
Yeah,
story? Oh,
no,
okay.
we're rolling.
Oh. I should. Well, hold
You
on.
did Bilbo multiple times. You did Florabella.
Mm-hmm.
You taught everybody how to use F. Hayes. You did all the Golems. You worked with everybody all these years doing
Mhm.
fight choreography.
I'm trying to frame that into a story. I'll never forget, I did the fight choreography for Bilbo, and I was also playing Bilbo with Chris Bailey. And me and Chris did the rehearsal of the fight away from Barbara. She didn't see it until one day in rehearsal, she was like, "I need to see the fight choreography." I'm like, okay. So the next rehearsal, me and Chris Bailey came in. We had worked on it, and we collaborated with it because Chris is quite good at fight choreography as well. And we showed it to Barbara, and we kind of went all out. And near the end of it, where it was safe to do so, because fight choreography, you always maintain eye contact, I looked out of my periphery, and I saw Barbara's face, and it was filled with fear, loathing, and just a little bit of disgust, because I think she was frightened of it. So, but we scaled it back a little bit, and after a while, she was happy with it.
Just for the record, I wasn't frightened of it, but I was frightened of it that the kids would be,
It's for the kids, exactly. Yeah, I
Yes.
know that. I know that. We probably scared you a little bit too.
yes, you did.
Good.
Yes, you did.
You did that. You were like, oh dear goodness. Yeah. Oh, help this young man who's no longer young. When I started Storyland, I was young, somewhat attractive. Look what I've become.
That is not going in the
It's going in the
It's
documentary.
adorable.
What else?
You started when you were like 19.
No, I was much older. I was a professor.
Wait, the first time you acted with us?
I
you
was
were already a
acting.
professor?
I mean, I was teaching, yeah. I've been there 24 years.
I know, well, you were there with Patricia, who got
I was
our
an
scholarship in
undergrad
88.
then. I didn't do it then.
You didn't do it till you were a graduate?
No, until I was teaching it.
Till you came back from your MFA?
Mhm.
Really?
Yeah,
That's the first time you acted with us?
first time. Patricia did, I didn't,
Yes, Tricia did from the beginning.
so.
Okay.
Well, I think I've covered everything, haven't I?
I think we're okay. I wish I
Yeah.
could think of more. When you leave, I'm gonna think of all these things.
You,
Asked you.
do me a favor.
Mm-hmm.
You did fine. I made an adjustment.
Okay.
So the very first thing you said,
I love when you do this, like anybody remembers.
First,
no, I mean,
first thing I said about scholarships.
Yes,
yeah, you don't have to repeat it verbatim.
Okay, I can,
Just redo that
okay,
however you want to do it.
so the lighting matches.
okay. Is it good now?
Yeah.
Okay. One of my favorite things about being involved with Storyland was I got to, or Barbara trusted me with, the giving out the scholarships to the students at Augusta University. And I always thought it was very important that Storyland was generous enough to give scholarships to our students, and she trusted me in making the right decision to to award it. And it helped them so much, not only financially, but also being a part of a very successful theater organization in Augusta, Georgia. And they learned a lot of stuff, and they grew as a performer. Because, let's be honest, when you act for children, you really have to be in tune, or they will tune you out in 1 second. The Augusta Boal, famous director, tells a story of when they didn't have electricity in a theater. He went down the street to talk to the coal miners and get them to come to the show for free so that they could have light for the actors. But he quickly realized that that was dangerous, because if they were bored, the coal miners would look somewhere else and the light would go away as well. Same thing with children. If you're not interesting, they will turn their light somewhere else and talk and shift and boo if you give them half a chance.
He's so good. He's so good.
Do you know Jimmy Thomas?
Mm-mm.
Well, I mean, he's no longer with us, but I swear you could be his brother.
Really?
The hairline,
Yeah.
the expressions, the eyes, damn,
I don't know.
crazy.
I have lots of pictures of Doug when he had brown hair. And he was very young, and he was dancing and singing. I'll show them to you.
Yeah.
You didn't know Jimmy Thomas?
No,
Or
I
did
have
you
no
know?
idea who that is.
I was singing and dancing because I was lied to.
I know, but
By
you
Rick
did so
Davis.
well. And he always said,
I love Rick
I don't want to
Davis.
do this, I don't want to do that, I can't do this. And I always said, yeah, you're really good.
No, I can act. I cannot dance or sing.
Yes,
So,
you didn't have to dance, you just had to. Ever since Doug did Bilbo and it went like this across the stage to symphony, ever since then, every single Bilbo has tried to recreate.
you can't recreate something that's so out of balance with nature, which is my
Yeah, well,
dancing.
I understand that, but they tried.
Okay.
They tried because it was so
Hmm.
effective.
All right, any last words?
What about, you've been a board member all these years.
Mhm.
What
Board member
about-
stuff's boring, though.
Yeah, I know, but what about how you feel about your relationship with Storyline?
Okay.
Or what it's meant to you, or,
Mhm.
and we haven't said that we're closing.
Okay,
so
okay.
They don't know that.
I've always enjoyed my relationship with Storyland as a board member and a performer and director at times. It's one of the highlights of my theatrical experiences, because we would work hard, and I think we loved even harder. We stay in contact, made a lot of new friends. Those I probably would not come in contact with, and it's going to be I'm not going to say difficult, but it's been a
Okay, start whenever.
Thank you so much for having me here. I have so much to say about Storyland Theater. I want people to know that I started as an educator, a teacher, an assistant principal, and a principal in Richmond County school systems for 32 years. And it was very important to me to see that my children were exposed to theater. The minute there would be an announcement that would go out, whether it was through the olden days, through the mail or emails or whatever, I would make sure my school was signed up to go to Storyland. But really, I didn't have to do that. They were coming to me already saying, may we take a field trip to Storyland Theater. Principals in schools are judged a lot on their attendance and how we want children to be in school, and that's not always an easy thing to do, but we certainly had perfect attendance, and that's something you can check. We had perfect attendance when there was going to be a field trip to Storyland Theater. They would come in so excited. They would come in well-dressed, and some teachers even had the matching shirts with something with Storyland on them to send them to theater. And then the most exciting part is, on some of the shows, I got to go with them, and I would sit there and, watch the show and watch their excitement, because it was like their first experience with theater. They just had never been before, so they absolutely loved it. They're used to their televisions and the pausing and going to get something to eat, where here they had to totally focus on what was going on. They didn't want to miss anything or miss a line, so they would know what was happening in the show. When we would come back to school, the teachers would always have them write something, a creative writing exercise, which was part of our curriculum. Well, you didn't have to beg anything out of children at that point. They had giants to draw, and princesses to draw, and trolls to draw, and cows to draw. They had so many things, and then they used their own handwriting, their own printing, and would tell us what was happening in the story. And I think the teachers used that as a good learning device, to create a story. And they would send those stories to us and to Miss Barbara Feldman, and she would then keep all of those. None of those drawings were thrown away. We hung them for a while. We brought them to the theater the next day for a show to show everybody, so that we all that were in the show, not in the show, but were part of it, got to see the drawings and what the children liked best, and that helped us know what we were going to do the next time. But more importantly was that attendance. Boy, they showed up for theater. I want to tell you that I put 32 years into Richmond County school system, and seeing that my children always got to Storyland Theater. It was important to me. I knew about it, and so I got them there. So when I retired after 32 years, I thought, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I was still young. I had a lot of good years left in me. I didn't think I was young at that time. I thought I was retiring. And I thought, well, I don't want to be in education. I don't want to be somewhere where I have to get up at 5:30 in the morning to be at work, at 7. But I wanted to be involved with children and with theater. And you'd think I would have known immediately where to turn, but I didn't. And I just had to keep thinking, and I sat around for a whole year just getting my life back together, and I thought, I can't sit at home. I have to do something. And I ran into Dr. Jack Feldman at a hospital, and I introduced myself and told him what I was looking for, because I knew his wife. And he said, let me give you some numbers. I know, she would probably be happy to hear from you. So I called Barbara that night, and I said, Barbara, we have talked on the phone. I'm a voice on the phone, nothing more. But I'm retired now. And after all of these years of sending my children to you, I want you to put me to work. She said, put you to work? I want to put you in a show. And I thought, this to me was like winning the Academy Award. I was so excited because I thought they might need me to pour coffee or just something. And she said, no, I need you right away, but I need you to read for me. I need you to sing for me. And, all of that was a little shaky. I'm not a singer, but Barbara worked with me, and we got to that point, and I got to be in my first show. And I learned about that. I learned all the parts of costuming, makeup, learning lines. I've never had to learn lines. As a principal, it just came easy to me because I had the principal's bulletin and I knew what I had to cover. So this was just totally different to have a script to memorize. And you have to do that because there's somebody out there waiting on you to know your lines so they can know their lines. So anyway, I was just learning the ins and outs of theater. I'll tell you one funny story about that. It was the second show I was in was Rumpelstiltskin. And I was doing everything Barbara Feldman had told me to do, and I was with a great group of people. And she kept telling me to strike the blanket. So I would walk off the stage and I would strike the blanket. Then when we would have notes, Miss Feldman always had notes for everybody, and she would say, Nancy, you're not striking the blanket. And I'd say, I am. I can't hit it any harder. I'm slapping it. Look at the tape. Look at something. I'm doing it. You're missing it. Well, everybody's laughing at me, and I had to realize that striking did not mean hitting. It meant remove the prop from the stage and take it off. And so that was my first experience at not knowing theater words, and, just took it from there. And that was just something that was real funny and just stays with me. There are numerous funny moments that I won't go into. But after doing a few shows, a lot of shows, I really loved it, loved every minute of it. You need to know that pace is fast. You have one show after another, and it was just wonderful. And then from there, Barbara said, I think you've gone as far as you can go with that. Would you be interested in being my production manager? You can still be in a show, but I need you to be a production manager. So I had to learn all the ins and outs, but it still meant that I got to get all my kids to the theater. I knew what was coming up. I knew what they would want to see. So I knew the people at transportation that could help with buses. There's so many parts that are involved in this. And being production manager, that's back again where, I learned about makeup, I learned about costuming, I learned about props and where people had to be at what time, and doing an etiquette speech, letting children know what's important. You only laugh when it's funny, you clap. We love to hear you clap. But other than that, you can't make a sound in a theater. You have to be listening for what that next line is so that the next person has their line, and you, of course, know what's happening. So from production manager, I kept that up for years and still being in shows. And then Barbara asked me if I would serve on the board. Well, that again opened wide open for me to have access to what was happening and what my children out in the schools, and we're talking over 50 elementary schools out there, that I knew what schools could come to what, and how many could maybe do 3, how many could really only do 2 shows a year, maybe they could only do 1. And then we looked around for people that might be able to help us financially get these children to school, because that's not our money, that's their money, but we're always looking, and there's grant writing that Barbara has done a wonderful job getting us through all of these years with our grants that get people to school. So again, you have to understand, I am retired. I sometimes think I worked harder with Storyland as an actor and production manager. Not that I didn't work hard as a principal. this was a different kind of working, but so many people were depending on me to do my things right so that the show could go on just right. And that was it. So I am still on the board after all these years. I don't know how many now, with retiring in 2004 and then getting right into Storyland. It's been a long road from actor, from one phone call, and Barbara saying, yes, I can use you. Of course, we have to look for people that are retired or free or don't have a full-time job in the afternoons, and they have to give up an entire week of their life to devote to theater. And I think that says a good thing about Storyland, because we have a lot of people that give up an entire week, along with rehearsals 3 times a week, 2 times a week. They are there for that show the whole time. And we did a good job of taking care of them. We gave them breakfast and we gave them lunch if we were there through that time. And I've made some lifelong friends in Storyland Theater. And I would hope that the children at my school, especially, I'll just say it used to be Southside Elementary. It's non-existent now, but that's where I was principal my last 7 years. And those children all got to Storyland. And now those teachers are out in different schools, and they continued bringing theirs, which brought in other schools. So that's about it. It was just a dream come true for me, for someone who was looking for something to do after retirement, but still stay involved with the children. And those children just, they loved to come to the Imperial. They loved to come to Augusta College. They had picnics on the grounds afterwards. There was just a lot they could do, that we tried to make it. Barbara would arrange field trips for them to make it a full day, where they would come to our theater in the morning and then maybe have lunch on the grounds and then go to Riverwalk or go to the museum, and Barbara did all that. I did not do that. She arranged all of that, but it was a wonderful experience, and I loved every minute of it. And it's coming to an end, and that makes me sad. But when you think about all the good we did in that time, we have only reason to be proud. That's it.
Oh, that was a beautiful line.
We have to figure out if we're gonna put that in.
The
Doug got
conduit.
nostalgic, and Beth got nostalgic, but nobody said coming to an end.
Okay, take it out. I mean, I didn't even know if I was allowed to say
No,
that. It
that
just
was
kept
good.
coming. It just kept coming.
I wouldn't just,
The only question I have is, we're gonna stay on YouTube, but all our live shows are gonna be over. I'm not gonna shut down, but that's
Okay.
still coming to an end. I guess it's fine. I don't know, we have a little time to think
You
about
have
it.
time when you put it all
Well,
together to
it's-
say Nancy's one little line doesn't fit through
Oh,
this whole thing, and then you
that's
can take
okay.
that one little line out.
That's not a problem.
the value of the line